All right, we are live. Hello, 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 everybody. Whether you're watching the replay or tuning in live, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is another Comics Launch live stream interview. On today's topic, we are going to be talking about building a new audience from scratch. Let's face it, if you are a creator looking to put your projects out into the world and have them supported monetarily, you're going to need an audience. And building a new audience is a challenge, even for creators who have had success in the past. And so I have a great guest on who's going to talk about the trials and tribulations of building a new audience and then launching a project to them on Kickstarter. If you are a creator who hasn't yet grabbed our free Comics Launch Kickstarter strategy guide to learn what's working now for comic creators on Kickstarter, we want to point that out and make sure that you go get that. It's at comicslaunch.com/superfunded is the latest guide. So please check that out. All right. My guest today for this awesome topic is a Pennsylvania-based writer and a publisher. He's probably best known as the writer for Supernatural comics, including Nightwolf and the spin-off series Snowpaw. And he is also the publisher of Lone Wolf Comics, which has now raised well over six figures in funding on the Kickstarter platform across a number of successful launches. He's also a professional web development and graphic designer, and he has experience in social media management and email marketing. He is back on Kickstarter this month with his first children's book project, which is called Wolfpack Pups, a Halloween trick-or-treat tale. So welcome back to Comics Launch, Rob Multari. How you doing today, Rob?
Good, Tyler. Thank you again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always good to check in with you and everything that's going on with the Wolfpack and Lone Wolf Comics. But you are off to something new this month, which is pretty exciting. And so let's just start with the new project that is live. It is called Wolfpack Pups, and it is on Kickstarter now. It's been on Kickstarter for about a week, and it is working its way towards your funding goal, of course. What can you tell us about this new project?
Yeah, so basically it's kind of like a kid's version of my characters from Nightwolf and Snowpaw. It's for younger audiences, to kind of get them into, knowing who my characters are. But also I wanted to kind of start telling stories like for my daughter, who's 5, she'll be turning 6 soon. But this is more like along her age group, because we love telling bedtime stories to her. And this is kind of like where a book that kids learning to read can get into. It's a great book for, learning as well. It has a moral to the story, which I felt like recently there hasn't been a whole lot of those who've been kind of struggling to find new books. So I wanted to put something out there. This one in particular kind of came from a situation that we had at my daughter's preschool last year. Basically, she was jealous that her best friend was playing with other kids. So we kind of had to talk her down on the whole jealousy thing and be like, hey, it's okay for you to play with other kids too. You don't have to just have one friend. Kind of like, just you can go, to play school, preschool, whatever, and have multiple friends and to do different things with. You don't have to just have that one person, because what happens if they're sick or they move schools, and then what are you going to do, right? So we kind of talked that through with her, and they kind of came at a good time, because that was when we were talking about developing the Wolfpack Pups plushie for the Voodoo doll, and I didn't have like a actual a like origin story for how this came about, except for in the trade paperback for Nightwolf, we have a pinup with the twin witches in their adult forms holding this voodoo doll plush. So, not only was this great for the adults who were reading the comics, I thought this would be great for the kids getting into the kids' book. So this story basically is the origin story of where this voodoo doll pup comes from, and also encompasses that learning about not being jealous. So I thought, okay, well, we have werewolf pups, we have twin witches, we have a voodoo doll. I thought this would be perfect for a Halloween themed book. and that's where it all stemmed from. So now we have the grade school versions of the characters in a Halloween theme, and with magic and antics and tricks and treats.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, as a fellow dad of a 5-year-old and someone who's telling stories all the time, and my son now is like, oh, yeah, Dad, you make books, right? You should be really making these stories that you're telling, starring me. You should be selling these. And obviously, I can scratch some of the children's book itch with the C is for Cthulhu brand, but I love that you've decided to make some products that are a little more in line with something that you can put in your daughter's hand.
Yeah, and that's when I did the Snowpaw spinoff, that was kind of like my when girls get into comics, like that was kind of my idea for that series, being a young A audience, but it's still above her reading level at the moment. So I was like, okay, well, I can't wait another like 5 years for her to enjoy that. I wanted to put something out that she can enjoy now.
Yeah.
And it's in the same form of like the books that we enjoy reading, like like your books, the C is for Cthulhu. She loves those books. Moana's book, matter of fact, she pulled Moana's Fishing Day with Papa Ray out last night to read. Like we're just like love reading books with her, and and I wanted to be able to like kind of share that you say, hey, Daddy does this, not just these books that you can't look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to talk about that for a moment. For those that maybe haven't come across your stuff in the past, what's important to know is that Rob, under the Lone Wolf Comics brand, has been very active for about the last 5+ years. You have 10 successful Kickstarter launches under your belt, I believe. And the Night Wolf series and its Snowpaw spin-up, which you mentioned, have all done very well on the platform, and those are ongoing concerns and things. And so you have those projects going. And for those of us like you and I who have grown up loving sort of the broader comics IP, we sort of understand that like it's pretty common for, all right, well, here's the intellectual property, and it can show up in different forms and formats. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics, very different than the Nickelodeon cartoon, very different than the live action, and then the recent one that they've done, Spider-Man and his many incarnations, Spidey and his amazing friends, and so it makes sense to want to say or just take, all right, I have this character, I've been fleshing out this character, but there's different ways and approaches to bring this character out into the world, but there are some challenges doing a spin-off book in a new category for what is really a new target audience, and so I'm wondering, like, what kind of back and forth were you having internally in terms of, all right, is this the right thing to do? Should I be, because the reality is this takes resources, this takes a financial investment, this takes a time investment that could be put towards just the next Night Wolf or the next Night Wolf related spinoff, et cetera. And so, what were some of the challenges that you were concerned about, and what was the opportunity here that made you say, all right, I'm going forward with it regardless?
Yeah. So I know that like kids books in general, on Kickstarter is a tough platform, for that genre. So going at it, I knew it was going to be a lot more of an uphill battle, especially since my audience is mostly adult comic book readers. And so I knew I couldn't like lean on them 100%. So I know I have a lot of Wolfpack members who are coming back to back this as well, but majority of them aren't interested in something like this, which is fine, because I'll still be putting out comics. This isn't like I'm switching completely.
Right.
But yeah, so for me, like I said, it was something that I was really gung-ho about doing because I wanted to put something out like this, like I said, for my daughter, and I wanted to do it for myself so that like I kind of wanted to go in both directions, showing giving like, young audiences, adults and kids, something, to read, for me to like to be able to like branch out and just to see if I could do it.
Yeah.
And I had the perfect artist to work with for this, and that was Megan Alferter, who is she was the original artist who did the pinup with the witches and the voodoo doll, and she did the voodoo doll designs, for the plush. So I kept her for this project because she has great illustrations. They're very cheerful, great for the kids. I think, just everything she did, she knocked it out of the park for this book. And it just was like, I had to do it. I had to keep going. I knew I built an audience once. I could do it again, and I just was. There like last week there was a minute where I was like, it wasn't funding as fast as I have been used to with my comics. So I had like that panic moment where I'd be like, oh my goodness, should I cancel this? Should I stop? But then I kind of had the weekend, to think about it and get my head back in the game. And I was like, no, I'm doing this. I'm not the type to just give up on something. Clearly I didn't give up on my first Kickstarter when it failed, in 2016. So why would I let this happen and just quit this one? So I wasn't doing that. I got my head back in the game. And I'm continuing to climb that hill and just keep pushing.
Yeah, and we can sort of talk a little bit about that, and just that I think you've clearly demonstrated the power of resilience in terms of taking and learning lessons from the results that you get, whether they're exactly what you're hoping for or not. But some of the things that I'm seeing with just this and with other things is that when you do have to build a brand new audience, one of the best approaches to build a new audience is actually to start from and draft off existing audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at a project like this, you're absolutely right. Like a children's book, a board book, that's kind of a different form factor. Obviously, the reading level, the age level, appropriateness. It's definitely different from Night Wolf, which is kind of like a PG-13, wouldn't you say? Rendition of a comic book. But you do have people like myself. I'm a backer of Night Wolf. I'm a fan of the comics, but I'm also a dad of a 5-year-old, and we burn through a ton of board books in each, every week. So I guess what was your approach? But can you speak a little bit of why you felt it was necessary to start a new Kickstarter account, build a new email list, and not launch this under the Lone Wolf Comics or Rob Multari existing Kickstarter infrastructure? Because this is, an important decision or a thing that, will add time and effort and stuff to the project. And so can you talk a little bit about that decision and where that came about?
Yeah, so I knew that like a lot of my current audience wouldn't want this. So I think instead of like constantly barraging them like with like the Kickstarter updates, the email updates, I'm doing very lightly this time around. As far as like I want to make sure that like I still show it, but not as heavily as if this was a Night Wolf or a Snowpaw. And I think too that like I wanted to kind of keep it separate because I wanted to build a series based on these Wolfpack pups. Like I have plans to do multiple books, and I kind of wanted it to be its own section for the kids. And whereas like then my current campaigns for under my own name for Lone Wolf Comics is a lot more adult oriented. There's some adult content, for the covers that I had done for Night Wolf because Kickstarter has a big audience asking for like not safe covers, not safe for work covers. And so I didn't want that to kind of like over encompass like this. So I thought that it would be best to continue doing the comics under that and the kids series under this. to keep them separate. One, again, for not constantly annoying my current audience, because I figured this is the first time around. I'll email to them occasionally. I'll do updates to them occasionally, but I'm not going to do it to the point where they're going to stop following me. Because I don't want to ruin the comic audience by constantly diluting with this. But the people who do come over, then it'll be separated. So I'll have the people who are interested in both under this, and then growing a new audience of just kids books for the series, to then that I can keep them separate in two different buckets.
Yeah. Okay. So can you talk a little bit about just the infrastructure of that? Like how? So you had to create a new Kickstarter account that was where this and potentially future Wolfpack Pup related projects will come out. Any other social channels that you started from scratch for this, or?
Yeah, so I started a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram account for Wolfpack Pups. I started a new email list under my MailChimp account. So I have two lists going. I have the Lone Wolf Comics, and then I have Wolfpack Pups. And then I also, so for Backer Kit, so I have them connected at the moment. I actually worked with Backer Kit to connect so I could still use launch for this. But then once this campaign is funded, it'll go into a new Backer Kit account, so that like I don't have to mix the two with the comics and stuff and go back and forth.
Yeah, that is. I'll just put an underline onto that. Backer Kit launch is a great tool to get your past backers to know that you have a new campaign live. And one of the cool things about it is that you can feed multiple campaigns and multiple accounts into one Backer Kit launch account, and sort of pick and choose which projects from however many accounts you want to upload, you are notifying, which is a very cool feature of that tool. So I see we've got your social accounts popping up for Wolfpack Pups, which is awesome to see. Pulled together a nice website as well for the search engine optimization and driving people over as well. And then email list. Did you decide to just start a brand new fresh list, or is this a segment in your existing?
Yeah, no, this is a brand new fresh list. It's using the wolfpackpups.com as the URL and the from send. So that's all set up like that. And it's got the Google Analytics, the new G tag set up, and Facebook Pixel, everything. So it's basically I've created it so that it is living on its own, and it could be its own thing, and it'll it's tracking the data from the very beginning, because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to separate it, and I wanted to make sure that I was getting all that information from the get.
Yeah, very cool. So another thing that is, one of the ways you play the Kickstarter game is you kind of choose the difficulty level setting on it. And, you've sort of talked about this being, not the kinds of explosive starts to a campaign as some of your more established properties have now had. But it is still important to recognize, like, only 25% of publishing projects wide raise $10,000 or above. So you did choose to play this at a higher difficulty level setting, but I know that you are also very candid and strategic about the goals that you set. And you are not the kind of creator that, I'd take $1,000 instead of $10,000 if what you actually need is $10,000. But can you talk a little bit about how you made the decision? Because I was looking back, when I first jumped into this with the C is for Cthulhu, Mummy's Always Right, I think, I didn't go above 8,000 for mine, mostly because first time you did it,
right.
not sure what the reaction is going to be, or if the audience would be there. But how did you go about goal setting, and what's your approach to goal setting for projects now?
Basically, I stopped doing the I think I can get to doing what I need
Yeah.
to actually make the project come to life without going too far into my pockets.
Yeah.
Because at this point, like I want to make sure that these are kind of like sustainability on its own. I've already put in a lot right now as far as like, I've already paid the artist for everything. So that's done and paid for. But the printing for these books, even going through China, I'm talking to Sam at Printlore, which she usually goes through China, and the quotes that I got, even for if I just did 500 books, was like $4,000. So I mean, right there, like even for like the minimum order was already like, even if I did 5,000, like I don't even know if that would have been enough to cover shipping and bonus rewards. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of it's basically like I was done doing this is what I think I can make. I'm setting my goals at what I know I need to get this out in the world, without being financially broke,
Yeah.
because that,
Yeah.
you know,
And Rob's been a member of Comics Launch Pro for a while. There's a discussion recently where somebody's like was asking, hey, anybody know good board book manufacturer in the United States that could do things affordably, and unfortunately the answer is no. Like there just simply isn't. This is like I did come across a board book place that'll make board books for like sub 500 copies, but the rub there is they're really kind of serving the like one-off or want to make a few for the family model, and so charge 20-25 bucks a book, which doesn't leave a lot of room for markup or margin, and because it's a different audience, and so really like to mass produce, you kind of do have to look outside of the US, and you do have to do it at a volume such that the cost is going to be significant. I mean, thankfully with the Seeds for Cthulhu brand, we're able to print at a volume and turn books over at enough of a volume that the cost per book is very attractive versus what we can sell it for. But it can be scary to not have before like, because this is the first time you've launched this, so you don't know what the initial demand is going to be, or where the after demand is going to be.
right.
I've talked about it before. If I could have gone back, I would have printed probably 3,000 more books after that first successful Seeds for Cthulhu launch, because I had to go back to print within a year on it, because Amazon was someplace where sales picked up, and that was good. But that wasn't information I had at the time. So it is a little bit of a gamble. And then we also didn't know that, this was going to be successful. Let's do more books. And every time we launch, there's going to be opportunity to sell more books. So yeah, it's the reality is you probably got to print 500 to 1,000 to make it cost effective. And but doing that, even if you're doing it at, overseas, like at a relatively inexpensive per book price, still adds up fast, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And then like, I also learned a little bit from like the plush campaign.
Yeah.
So that one went over 10,000, just over 10,000, which, so I kind of thought, okay, well, this is going to be kind of a similar, even though like I had like new comic covers for that particular campaign to help get that over the finish line faster. I thought, well, okay, that was still doable with this kids market, with the plushie. So I thought, okay, well, let's stick it there at that 10K, and that's what I need. That's what will keep me going. And I even like did, like you said, about having extra ordered. I, instead of the 300 minimum that I was going to do for the plushies, I ended up doing a 500 run, just because I anticipated for this campaign and hopefully having a little bit of stock for like Amazon and other avenues and at Comic Cons. So I ordered extra plushies just to be able to like have in stock, because I know like doing a reorder for that's it's not cheap. So like I wanted to make sure that like I had it at one time, because once you get to certain price breaks too, it makes more sense.
Yeah, I think plush that we dealt with, I think it's the same one you did, is, that there was a price break kicked in at 500 versus 300, which is, if you can find a reason to get to it, it's always good to do. You'll thank yourself later. Maybe not at the time when you cut that check.
Well, it's lucky I got that storage unit this past year.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan Clater, watching live, just asked, if you're using Google Analytics for your sites, what sort of percentage of audiences are you seeing on Wolfpack Pups versus your Nightwolf Snowpaw campaign numbers?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at that yet. I'm sure it kind of depends too, like when I'm running ads, versus when I'm not. Yeah, I haven't really gone back to look at that yet. That actually brings up a good, thought. I probably should, after this campaign, really do a deep dive and just kind of compare the two, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, definitely. There's insights to be had from doubling down and looking at those numbers. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier that your very first Kickstarter launch way back when failed to fund. So you're clearly not someone who is going to take failure as a reason to stop and throw the towel. And after that first launch, you turned around and racked off like 10 successful launches in a row. Lots of funding raised, lots of books out, lots of wolf howls as a result. This campaign, as far as campaigns go, it's got some work to do, but you've crossed the 30% funding milestone, 31% now. And those that listen to our show know that on Kickstarter, you get 30% funded anytime in the campaign, you actually end up having about a 90% chance of ultimately getting funded. You get that to 40%, it becomes about 95%. And having that knowledge is power. There was someone in our program last month who their campaign did not get off to a great start. And they sort of were leaning in on kind of some of the wrong things, weren't really using that email list, weren't being active with their updates or doing milestones. And they were, a little bit just down, but and only about 10% in week one. And here we are a month later, they overfunded and doing well by sticking with it, by staying active. And so, having had the initial surge for first few days, but still having about 2 weeks left to go, like what's your game plan, your approach to keep that momentum going, to stay positive, stay focused on doing the things that are going to ultimately get you from 31 to 100% and more?
Yeah. So I actually have a Comic-Con this weekend, and I have cards printed up with the QR codes to take people directly to the Kickstarter page. It has the Wolfpack Pups information, and then on the backside it has the plush toy information. So that way, people who are at the cons that I'm talking to, I can talk, show them the plushie, and if they want to, I have some that I'm taking with me if they want to purchase that there, or if they want to wait and get it with the book, they have that option. But yeah, so basically I'll be talking up to, current, Wolfpack members at this con and new Wolfpack members, basically say, hey, these are the books that you might enjoy yourself, but these are these comics, these kids books will be perfect for your kids, especially, the ones that are walking around with their kids. I can, it's easy to say, hey, do you like reading, books to your kids at night? And, this is a perfect one for the Halloween season. And especially if you like werewolves and supernatural tales.
Yeah. Yeah. So the convention event is definitely a good one. I'm curious, and this is something that I kind of recommend to people when even if they've gone, because it's been a while since you first started like the list launch program or the comics launch stuff, and you've had a background in marketing and things like that. So some of that is just applying what to your own context. But one of the first things that we do in our community is we encourage people to actually, when you're starting a new venture, lean in back on those know, like, trust contacts, the people in your world. And I'm wondering if you've so, were I starting a brand new endeavor, I don't know, like if I was making karate belts, my son just joined the advanced dragons class for his karate, so he's all excited about that. So if I started a karate belt business, I would probably go back, even though I had built an audience and and all the other things I do, I'd probably go back to square one in some terms and reach out to my personal contacts, make a list. Like, all right, who are the 200 people I know in my world that either have kids, grandkids, no kids, like kids, buy kids, or this kinds of stuff. And I'm curious, like, did you do any of that, or are you considering sort of knocking on the virtual doors of just people in your world to let them know that, hey, you're doing something new and it's important to you, and you're excited about it? And is that potentially something that might be in your future in order to leave no stone unturned to give this the best possible launch?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple people and they've backed, who don't usually or have not ever, in my personal life, which has been great to see, and I'm very thankful for that. I probably could lean on that a little bit heavier. I did do some personal Facebook posts on my personal page, calling out friends and family, but I haven't directly gone to their DMs or their where they're texting or calling or anything. But that's something I could still have in my back pocket. What I did do is going through the comics launch list builder. I went back and I did a viral list builder with a giveaway, which got me over 1,000 emails. So I've emailed that once or twice. I'll probably hit it up again a couple more times throughout the campaign to try and get that cold audience in. Because mostly backer or people who do the giveaways tend to be more of a cold audience because they're just there for the giveaway. But yeah, so I mean, I plan on continuing through doing that. And then, like you said, reaching out to a little bit more, in touch with some of my personal connections.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Kickstarter, because of the all or nothing nature of it, obviously, ideally, the launch you want would be 100% supported by people that would be your perfect target market for this book, and thus for future projects that are similar to this one. That said, that all or nothing funding model means that you get 60, 70, 80% of those people. But the difference between success or not success, maybe bring in some people that are less ideal customers, but are coming for another reason, maybe still worth it just to have that success and something that you can build on. I'm curious, you for the last campaign, which is for the plush, which is definitely a different style of project than what you were used to. For that campaign, you used special comics for that. I'm curious if you've given any thought, or if you're holding in your back pocket, like, is there some sort of incentive that you could use for your more tried and true comics backers that you could apply to this launch to get it over the hump if necessary? Or is that something you really don't want to cross pollinate if you can?
Yeah, I kind of don't want to do the cross pollination. Plus, I'm still waiting for my books for issue 7 to come in to finish doing that fulfillment, since there was a printing mishap. So I don't want to offer the comics right now when I'm already kind of still waiting for those books to come in. So that's kind of one thing that I really don't want to shake the tree there. But I did. So for people who don't necessarily want the kids book particularly, or the plushie, I did add a few levels in there and an add-on for some things that some of my creator friends might be interested, or people who have businesses and need a website. So for the creators, I have a Kickstarter consultant tier that is paired with the book and the plushie, but I also have it as an add-on in case they're not interested in the in the extra swag and stuff.
And all the swag,
yeah. So that the add-on is for $250, whereas with everything it's $375, and that's for if they're launching a Kickstarter anytime soon, I'll go in and I'll help them, talk them through building the page, their audience, some marketing tips, anything like that. For that, basically, it's 2 1-hour sessions, and I'll probably give them more time just, to make sure that I can help them as best I can. And then I also have 2 different website tiers. A simple tier, and this is highly discounted, like compared to what my usual website rates are. So this is
Yeah.
good for creators or small business owners who don't have the money to go to an agency, for a good website. There's the simple tier, which is basically a nice brochure website, and then there's the advanced if they like want a web store to go along with that, or if it's like a more advanced website and has a lot more pages, and they want to be able to do like stuff themselves, with a little bit more of a CMS background.
Nice. Yeah, and that's another thing that we strongly recommend is just lean into your own personal strengths, whether they're directly related to the project or not. Kickstarter gives you the opportunity to put together bundles and packages to sell your skills along with the project, and all's fair in love and crowdfunding, I think, and so I love that you're getting creative with that as well.
Yeah, I figured, if if it doesn't fund, this is what I'll be doing anyway to pay for the printing, is going and doing more website design stuff, just as they come. So I figured, hey, I'm going to put them up front. If anybody wants to back the project just for a website, that's cool too. I'm planning, that I'll be doing it anyway.
Absolutely. Let me just, and this is something that, even with the Sears for Glulu brand, we haven't been great at just PR or outreach to spots that cover this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Have you had any luck just getting your stuff out into channels that might not be the traditional places that you'd promote a comic, but might promote a children's book, or have you focused on that much at all?
Yeah, I've gotten some PR contacts out, just haven't gotten a lot of response back. So either, it's one of those things where they're either not interested or they just didn't get it. They thought it was spam. There has been a couple places that it's been posted, but not as reaching out to a new audiences, and is probably like, especially if somebody they've never heard of, going to like mom blogs or podcasts that that for children's books, stuff like that. It's probably a little bit harder to get into, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is cool, Rob. I mean, anything else you want to tell us about this project before we start to bring things to a close here?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good milestones to unlock with stickers and all kinds of other goodies. There's stretch goals as well. We'd love to be able to make this a full series. Like I said, we have plushies planned as well. So there's prototypes in the works that hopefully we can get these going. But yeah, so this is it's a great book for kids. It's a great thing for anybody who loves Halloween and loves to keep it all year round. I know there's a lot around here. I have a couple friends who are, they keep their Halloween decorations up, but they like change it with the season. Like it'll be like a Christmas skeleton or something like that. So like this is great for people like that who have kids. In general, like if you are fans of cute, cuddly werewolves or wolf pups, this is a great series for them, and just a lot of great art. There's a lot of some of the back pages. There's some that I haven't shared yet that I came out that I really have been happy with how this book came together. And there's also for those of you out there, everybody from like the $10 pledge will get a digital coloring book as well, so you can download it and then you can color the pages yourself, or your little ones can color them. It's all around a great fun for everybody.
Nice. And what else is in the docket for Lone Wolf Comics besides on the comic side? While you're here, you might as well give us a tease of what's coming next.
So I've been kind of in the works with doing for Nightwolf. I've been doing like 3D printed models. I finally kind of found somebody that can do the printing for that. So this is about a 3.5 inch. I also have a 7.5 inch version of this as well. that I'm working on, and I think we're talking about doing the 28 millimeter scale for like RPG gaming. So that's probably the next once the Nightwolf issue 7 is finally fulfilled. Once the books come in from the printer, once that's completely done, then I'll probably launch that with the comics. That way
with the next issue.
No, I'd probably do another issue 1 through 7 because I'm still waiting. Carlos is in the middle of doing issue 8.
Yep.
So that probably won't launch until late 23, early 24. And then also, so that's the next one after that would be Nightwolf number 8, and then Snowpaw number 3. Mog, I believe, is going to be starting in about 8 days or so. She said, I think on the 15th, she was going to start working on Snowpaw 3. So that'll be probably spring launch. And then once 8's been fulfilled, I'll go back and do the volume 2 trade paperback. So then it'll be accompanied with the issue there, or the volume 1. So they'll have the soft cover, of course, and then the hardcover like this will be similar with a die cut with another werewolf underneath.
Nice. Yeah, so you've got plenty on the roadmap to keep you busy over the next couple of.
That's for sure. I definitely like to keep myself crazy busy.
Well, I'm glad to see it's keeping you out of trouble, my friend, and we're going to be rooting for the Wolfpack Pups campaign to get to the finish line. But I think you're definitely. You're a veteran at this thing. You're an old hand, and you're doing what it takes to get it there. So I'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on and joining us. For everyone else watching, we can't wait to see what you launch next. Take care, everybody.